Same prompt, same model. Two harnesses side by side. One came back with the answer. The other was still searching. It's the most convincing thing anyone showed you this week. And at the bottom of each window in gray type, one is set to high effort, the others on default. The numbers are real. The settings behind them are never in the shot. If you already run a coding agent, you've heard 4 things about DeepSeek Harness this week. I checked all 4 at the source this morning, and 3 of them aren't true. The 4th one is real, and it's the only part that touches what you actually pay.
Cool. I'm staying on Claude.
That's the single most upvoted comment on this whole launch. More than 300 people agreed with him. The second most upvoted one says the harness changes the game by 360 degrees, which if you sit with it for a second, puts you back exactly where you started. And they're right. You shouldn't switch. It's a developer preview. It breaks. And the 2 creators who covered it most warmly both said on the record that they're not switching either. The feature everyone's crediting it with shipped in a PyFork 81 days earlier. So forget switching. 3 of those 4 numbers are about the harness you're already running. It's about what it costs you every time you walk away from your terminal. Here's what transfers, what breaks, and the one number on your bill that actually matters. This assumes you already know why the harness matters more than the model. If that's new, the video on your screen covers it, and the industry just proved that one for me by naming a product after it. Come back after. And if you're not subscribed, you may never see me again. And I've got a lot of good stuff coming. Start with what moves. Your CLAUDE.md file is read natively, no changes. Your MCP servers keep the same tool names. Your skills transfer in format but not in location because it never looks in the Claude folder. And your hooks only partly survive because their own repo calls it a compatibility path and it only supports a subset. That's the sheet. The full version, every row, is free in the community link below, and it's the thing on screen right now. So the migration is boring, which is good news. The interesting part is the number everyone repeats. 1,000 eyewitnesses, no photograph, because it isn't in the docs, and it isn't anywhere else either. Everyone says this thing makes long sessions 120 times cheaper. I cloned the repo and searched every file in it. 7,807 of them. 0 hits. It's not on the site either, and it's not in the API docs. What it actually is DeepSeek's own price ratio between a cache hit and a cache miss. That was 120 to 1 back in April. Today, it's 30 to 1. The number is real. It's just 3 months old, and it was never about the harness. That's the second number this week with a date on it. The reviews say these models can't see. They shipped a vision model on August 21st, and by their own benchmark, it closes most of the gap to the leading closed model. Some of those reviews were published after it shipped. Now here's where most videos would stop, and that would be dishonest. And one developer, who also sells pricing tools, audited 650 of his own requests. He checked every one of them against DeepSeek's own billing console. His cache-heavy bill did go up. It went up 2.7 times, not 12. And in the same paragraph, he says, caching still saved him about 15 times what he'd otherwise have paid. Both of those are true. If you only heard the first one, somebody sold you half a story. There are 4 modes in this thing, and they're not a detail. Standard mode reads your agent files, your Claude.md, and your skill catalog before it answers anything. The minimal one reads none of that. 2 tools and a shell. Second fact. The benchmark everyone quotes. DeepSeek's own changelog says the coding tests were run in what it calls minimal mode. And minimal mode's own config file says, and I'm reading it exactly, context compaction is absent. So the mode they benchmarked doesn't have the feature everyone's praising. The changelog also calls that mode, quote, to be released soon. The public benchmark ran on a harness the public couldn't get yet. Someone measured it on a neutral setup. An independent evaluator ran terminal bench 3 times and got 54.7 against the 87.9 in the announcement. On a different benchmark, the same evaluator came out higher than the vendor's own number. So the The swing is real and it doesn't point one way. So here's the part that's actually new. In this thing, the agent loop itself is a plugin. Their own architecture doc says every part is replaceable from configuration, including the loop. Open up open code and the loop is a hard-coded while inside a function. But the paper everyone is citing for it isn't theirs. It belongs to a project called CoreDis. One developer, 4 years of commits, 7,000 stars. Their own README says the harness is powered by it. And that cuts both ways. One of the two launch day findings is that installing a plugin silently runs code on your machine. Somebody wrote the fixes, put them on a fork, and then couldn't open a pull request because this repo doesn't take them. They're sitting in a forum thread with one reply. There's no security file and no private way to report anything. That's why I haven't run this one. And if you actually want your bill down tonight, none of this is the lever. The largest public trace we have, 4,300 sessions across Claude Code and Codex, puts the cache hit rate at 95.7%. The misses are the money. On those two, the 4% that miss are about a third of your input bill. On DeepSeek's pricing, closer to 60. And the biggest single cause isn't the harness. It's you walking away mid-session while a 5-minute timer runs out. Switching models breaks it. Toggling a plugin breaks it. Coffee breaks it. And you don't have to take my word for any of this. The harness prints that number itself along the bottom of the window next to the token count. Look at it once and you'll never argue about this again. So, is it just pi with a nicer front end on the log? Basically, yes. And the people saying so had a commit to point at on the loop. No. And that's the only part I'd actually steal. The 4 numbers everyone repeated turned out to be one stale price, one paper about something else, one benchmark in a mode you couldn't download, and one repo that won't take your pull request. The tool is fine, the story around it wasn't. The full transfer sheet is in the link below. Every row names the file I checked it in, so you can check me instead of trusting me.